We know the music of Antonin Dvorak, we know his symphonies, his concertos, and we love them. But many people might not know his 3 works that he wrote for small orchestra, and we're playing a very special one of those at this concert. His Serenade for 12 people, most of them woodwinds. And in this serenade, we find Dvorak at his most bohemian. He's reveling in the warmth of his people, in the beautiful landscape of his country, in its folk music and dances that he loves. He was probably inspired by Mozart's superb writing for wind band. Dvorak creates his own charming atmosphere of the color of the oboes and clarinets and bassoons together with 3 horns, and the bottom voice is a beautiful cello and a beautiful bass playing. He wrote this piece in just 2 weeks in January of 1878. In his music, he incorporated many Czech dances into the work. We'll especially hear that in his second movement, where he is using a Czech waltz and a piece called a furiant, which is a sort of swaggering Czech dance. Third movement is a beautiful song. And the fourth movement, a wonderful Czech polka. I love the music of Antonin Dvorak, but I also love the kind of person he was. You know, all of his life, Dvorak remained true to his land and to his people. Although he was pressured to become more German, he instead celebrated his heritage, and he became his country's national hero. Johann Sebastian Bach was probably the most brilliant composer in our entire musical history. And he certainly was the busiest. In the 1730s and 40s, he was the most important musician in Leipzig and very, very busy. How did Bach find the time, I wonder, to meet all of his obligations? Not only was he music director of St. Thomas Church, which required him to provide new music for every day of the week. He also was music director of the Collegium Musicum, which gave Friday night concerts of secular music. And he wrote a great deal for that organization and often played in the concerts. Well, like many enterprising composers of his time, Bach was a borrower. He borrowed and reused materials he had already composed to meet this constant demand of music. For the piano concerto that you'll hear on the concert, he drew upon a pre-existing violin concerto, a cantata movements, a harpsichord piece, and an organ piece. This was not at all frowned upon. Borrowing was considered a practical and tasteful way of providing a great deal of high-quality music. Bach also borrowed concertos from other composers as well, notably Vivaldi, whom he greatly admired. But this was also completely accepted and considered actually a mark of respect and admiration. The piece you're about to hear is actually a groundbreaking moment in music history. Bach had created an entirely new genre, a genre that was to become beloved for the rest of music history. He invented the keyboard concerto with this piece. One had never been written before. And that keyboard concerto played on the harpsichord had a very long life as a piano concerto and exists even today. Think of all the great music written for the keyboard and orchestra. Bach started that with this concerto. It's the best known of his keyboard concertos. It's earnest and darkly hued, filled with energy, driven in a way in the first and third movement, and a beautiful song in the slow movement. We are very proud that we have great pianist Eric Huebner here to play this for us. Eric is a wonderful friend of the BPO. He's played many, many concerts with our musicians. He lives here in Buffalo and teaches here, and he's also the principal pianist of the New York Philharmonic. So he is spectacular, and we are thrilled to perform the Bach first keyboard concerto with him. I spoke before about how Antonin Dvorak expressed the culture and the heritage of his country so beautifully. Well, actually, that was going on all over Europe. In the mid-19th century, there was an explosion of cultural nationalism in Europe. Artists no longer wanted to be bound by the dictates of an international style, which actually meant a Germanic style. They instead sought to cherish, preserve, and create music that expressed their country, its natural voice, its folk music, its dances, its language. Every country had their musical hero, and for Norway, it is the great Edvard Grieg. Grieg represented his country beautifully in his beloved piano concerto, in his music for the Ibsen play Peer Gynt, in his symphonic dances, and in many other pieces that celebrate the landscape and history of Norway. Grieg's Holberg suite reflects the heart of Norway in paying a tribute to another great Norwegian artist, the writer Ludvig Holberg. Both Ludvig Holberg and Edvard Grieg were born in the same city, Bergen, Norway. So Grieg felt a direct connection to Holberg, even though he had lived 150 years before him. Grieg composed the suite to honor Ludvig Holberg on the 200th anniversary of his birth. He called it From Holberg's Time. And to honor him, he wanted to use the musical language of that time, of the Baroque period. He borrowed a series of 18th century dances for strings and made it a beautiful handshake across the centuries with the romantic voice of Grieg speaking in the Baroque melodies of Holberg's time. It is a beautiful vehicle for our Buffalo Philharmonic strings, and we hope you enjoy the Grieg Holberg suite.